He documented Seattle's grunge phenomenon, but now his focus is on health and the gift of family.
It's scary, and you, especially when you're in the healthcare field and someone in your family is going through this, you want to be able to fix it.
And here we go.
Once the gun goes off, it's kind of just like, it's happening. I'm in it.
She's a UW track star, but that alone does not define her. We'll explore the amazing world of Imani. And rugby's popularity is on the rise, fueled by the Seawolves' back-to-back championships. These stories and more next on CityStream. Hi everybody, I'm Tony Ventrella. Welcome to CityStream from T-Mobile Park, home of the Seattle Mariners. T-Mobile Park can hold more than 47,000 fans. It has the largest scoreboard in the major leagues, measuring 202 feet long. And there's an endless array of things on the menu. And there's this cool baseball museum filled with artifacts and photographs of America's pastime. In fact, it was photography and not baseball that consumed a Seattle kid's life. His photographs of a music phenomenon made him famous. Then a few years ago, he got very sick. And today, as he battles a life-threatening illness, it turns out that the focus of his recovery involves a surprising source.
Well, I don't know if I've met anyone in Seattle that doesn't know Lance. That's kind of a joke, but...
If you're one of the few who doesn't know Lance Mercer, he's the Seattle photographer who captured that seismic shift in American music called grunge. And he was Pearl Jam's official photographer.
Official sounds so official. It was semi-official.
Anyway, you've probably seen Lance's iconic images of every notable Northwest band from the 90s in books and magazines like Rolling Stone, Spin, and Vanity Fair.
And then he's also participated as an artist. He was in a band called The Briefs that was very popular for a while. Lance met my mom through mutual friends, and actually one of their first dates was a photo shoot that he did of me when I think I was about 1.5, 2 years old. I think part of the reason that my mom fell for him is that he was, even though he was young, he was happy to incorporate a little toddler into his life.
Thanks to her stepdad, Evan DeLay's childhood rocked.
We obviously went to lots of concerts, which was really fun as a kid. I remember dancing in fields and dancing on stages and just loving every minute of soaking up the music with my sisters.
I just assumed that she was up to no good because I was a pretty wild kid. So I just, that's what I assumed, but I was completely wrong.
Next, I think we should focus on donor recruitment.
Today, Evan is a research nurse at Bloodworks Northwest, which serves Washington, Oregon, and Alaska. It also runs a cutting-edge research institute.
They provide the blood products that save lives in real time in the hospital.
It's a world away from Lance and his years at ground zero in a grunge music explosion.
Being in this, 2-foot photo pit with this sea of people behind me, I considered myself to be almost like a war photographer.
The war Lance is fighting now is much different.
Yeah, I had just a strange, what felt like a pulled muscle in my leg, and I went into the doctor. I thought I was going in just for a quick checkup.
Tell me your name and birthday.
Lance Mercer,
2014, Father's Day. That's when Lance is told he has stage 4 lymphoma, a potentially fatal blood cancer.
And I remember I walked around, I stood up and I was pacing around her, and I started yelling at her that she didn't know what she was talking about.
It's scary, and you, especially when you're in the healthcare field and someone in your family is going through this, you want to be able to fix it.
It was really severe. I had it pretty much throughout my whole body.
So for the next 5 years, Lance faces a brutal fight for his life, which includes chemotherapy, radiation, And now, a stem cell transplant. Hopefully, the infusion of healthy cells along with intensive chemotherapy can start producing normal blood cells instead of cancerous ones.
He was sick. He really was not feeling well.
Just, really, really extreme flu-like symptoms where all you want to do is just kind of be keeled over, in the fetal position.
The day came for the transplant. I was working here at Bloodworks, so I was going to be the after-work visitor, bring dinner if he was up for eating and that sort of thing.
And before long, Evan gets some photos from Lance.
And I looked in the picture and he said, "These are my cells getting delivered."
There's Lance, but who is this?
Oh my gosh, who is that delivering your blood cells? That looks like my coworker. Hey, Denise.
It is. Photos show her colleague, Denise Farrer, delivering stem cells for Lance's procedure. At that moment, Evan discovers another vital part of Bloodworks' mission.
And that's how I learned that was even part of what Bloodworks did.
Saving lives suddenly gets personal. Evan is working for the company that could save her stepfather's life.
Last year, I just came to terms with the fact that it's part of who I am, rather than getting frustrated that it's not going completely away.
Yeah.
There's plenty of times where I was just exhausted, and I didn't want to deal with any part of it. I can still live my life normally.
Yeah.
The stem cell transplant does bring some relief, but the war is far from over.
My lymphoma being pretty stubborn, I had some hot spots in my stomach and chest and neck.
Which means a new strategy is needed to combat the cancer. A clinical trial with new drugs is seen as a last hope.
So this is a scan from right before we started your study drug.
Dr. Raya Mawad is Lance's oncologist at Swedish Hospital. Today she's sharing an update on the trial and the impact, if any, it's had on the lymphoma with Lance, Evan, and her sister Mackenzie.
So I would say that everything is improved compared to November.
That's amazing.
And you're tolerating the drug really well, and so I think we should keep going.
Yeah.
You're doing great.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
That's amazing.
It's great.
Yeah. I was kind of in shock, to be honest. Like, I can just be normal and just kind of go about my life now.
Lance and Evan are telling his story, hoping to inspire others to give the life-saving gift of blood.
I don't know how else to say it, but without it, people won't survive.
33 years ago, Lance Mercer brought a little 2-year-old girl into his life.
Where was this one again?
This was Kitsap County, Lollapalooza '92. It's Chris Cornell.
Who'd have known that one day she'd be a part of saving his?
Oh, that's my brother.
I already was proud of where I worked, and it made it even more powerful for me that I'm really working at an organization that's not just changing anybody's life or other people's lives, but my family's life.
Bloodworks Northwest says it's easy to schedule an appointment or make a donation. Just go to their website, bloodworksnorthwest.org. She's a fearless competitor, but there's a lot more to this UW star than just running fast. Her story next on CityStream. We're down on the field at T-Mobile Park, and as I take a look over at the infield, I realize that the fastest Major League runners can make it around those bases in 14 seconds. That is fast. Speaking of fast, University of Washington runner Imani Apostol would certainly be competitive, I think, in that group. After all, for the last 8 years, she holds the state record in the 400 meter. But that's not all. As Frank Ciappone reports, she is not only a fast runner, she's a data analyst, a musician, and a model.
Running 3 will be Imani Apostol from Washington.
I know I'm fast, and I know I can do whatever I want to do in this race, and it's just up to me. You can just hear your own breathing and your heart beating. I love it. I love that feeling.
And here we go.
Once the gun goes off, it's kind of just like, it's happening. I'm in it. There's no other time like right now. I typically know who's running next to me. Like, I know I can beat this person, I know I can beat this person.
Here comes Imani Apostol, standing in Apostle. Here comes Imani Apostol.
I've looked at myself in new ways and just knowing that I can push myself so hard.
She was our best quarter miler. Work ethic speaks for itself. She was able to PR in basically almost every meet this year.
I've never had to be convinced to run.
For UW sprinter Imani Apostol, running track was less about setting personal records.
I think that pressure to perform has been there throughout my whole life, so I'm kind of used to it by now.
And more about her personal journey.
She felt like this was right for her, and she's always been that way, right? Even since she was a little girl, she did what was right for Imani.
Born in New York, she and her mom moved to Seattle when she was 5. Her path to track and field started by accident. She wanted to play soccer, but when she didn't make her high school soccer team, she turned to track.
I just did it with my friend just to get our PE credits covered. I was constantly put into training groups with the seniors, and then at that time I was beating most of the seniors also. And then that's when I realized, okay, this is something I really like doing and I'm pretty good at it.
Go Money! Go Money!
The more she ran, the better she got, especially in relay races where she won several state titles. But individual honors eluded her, placing second 3 straight years. Imani dreamed of attending college in California, but when they didn't come calling, she had to make a choice, either become a Husky or head east to an Ivy League school.
I went on visits and I just could not see myself there.
For Imani, UW was home.
The community at UW, the culture, having a good academic experience, and not just good, a really strong one, knowing that I could focus on track.
A focus on track is rare among women who share Imani's ethnicity. Only about 1% of female track athletes are Asian. So being a Division I sprinter, it's just not something a traditional Filipino American tends to do.
No, that's karaoke. Right? that's family dinners with food, right?
There aren't too many, Asians competing at the world-class level.
It's cool to know that I'm one of the few in the Asian or mixed Asian population that is a student athlete and is succeeding and is doing well at it.
Because I definitely trusted her talent. I definitely believed in her as far as, you can compete at this level. You just gotta believe it. And she's been doing it.
Is she the first Filipino American to have those records? I'm pretty sure she is.
Imani's success isn't limited to just track. She's also a model.
I love it. It's a more creative side of me that I don't really get to do as much, but it's something that I do want to pursue a lot more. I went to Costco with my boyfriend and we got a stack of the magazines that it was in. And they were kind of looking at us like, why do you need all those? And we were like, I'm in it.
She'll pursue a master's degree in informatics this fall, a tech field dominated by men.
I definitely think there's a lot of improvements in getting a more diversified tech world. I think the door is cracked right now, and I think it needs to be swung wide open.
She was an impressive classical pianist. And her neighbor helped jazz things up.
I generally don't teach that much, but she has the feel, which is really big.
I didn't know he was such a big deal, really, probably until I started working with him.
As much hard work as she's put in the last few years, she's still young. There's a lot of hard work ahead of her, but Imani has a certain balance. she's driven.
At the Pac-12 championships in May, Imani hoped to qualify for the NCAAs. But after a disappointing finish in the individual 400, Imani found herself down to the last lap of her collegiate outdoor track career. Trailing when she took the baton, sheer determination, grit, and desire powered her forward.
At that point in my head, it was like, all right, it's all or nothing right now, and this is your last chance, so just go for it. So I went for it.
For Washington, running a very nice anchor leg.
Despite winning that race, the UW relay team missed a trip to the NCAAs by a single spot. Imani believes that final race does not define all of her accomplishments.
Just having that satisfaction feeling after and knowing and looking back and saying, wow, like I did that.
That's kind of like probably for her life. She's going to be that silent leader who, just like in track, she's going to sneak up on you. You may not know she's there. She may be coming from behind and have these obstacles that she's had to overcome. But in the end, she's going to sprint right past you and win.
Imani is eligible for the indoor track season, but she's decided instead to work on her studies and her modeling career. We'll be right back. After years of trying, one of the Seattle Mariners' all-time favorite players has finally been inducted into the Hall of Fame. In July, designated hitter Edgar Martinez joined an exclusive club and will forever be enshrined in Cooperstown. Welcome back to T-Mobile Park. Here's one of my favorite guys. I've known him for a long time. Bob Christofferson, the head groundskeeper at T-Mobile Park. Bob, it's good to see you.
Nice to see you again.
How you doing? Hey, let me ask you something. I look at this field, I have never once seen an imperfection of any kind. When you look at it, do you see imperfections occasionally?
All the time.
You do? Then what do you do?
Well, it depends on when, number one. I mean, if it's right before the game, and it depends on what it is.
Yeah.
Some of it is caused by the players just in their practice time.
Sure.
You know, the great thing about the game of baseball was the dirt is where the most activity is. So they designed it so that you could repair the dirt much easier than the grass. But now with the shift, we've got infielders playing outfield, and it's so it's a little bit different.
You were head groundskeeper at Cheney.
Mm-hmm.
And your dad was a groundskeeper before that. So what was your first exposure to this type of work with your dad?
Oh yeah. I used to, when I was a real little kid, I used to pick the bases up and carry them in. And they were heavy for a little guy. And gradually, you know, I used to wheelbarrow load after load of sand. That's when we used to use sand to play in a rain game. And just gradually kept doing it. I went to college to be a school teacher. And that didn't work out as well as, you know, I'm glad I'm doing what I'm doing. I started at Cheney in 1981 as the head groundskeeper.
In all the years you've done it here, what kind of relationship do you have with some of the guys that have come through here? Edgar, Junior.
Oh, good people, good, you know, yeah. It's, you know, I consider this their office.
Yeah.
And I'm just the keeper of their desk. So I want to make sure that what's underneath their feet, they don't even have to think about it.
You know, it's funny, when you think of a baseball field, you do think of the grass. You don't think of the dirt, the grooming of the dirt, especially the mound, which to me has to be maybe the most difficult thing you do.
It's yeah, I wouldn't say most important because I think it's all important.
Yeah.
But dealing with the dirt, we probably spend more energy on the dirt than we do the grass.
Yeah. You know what I forgot almost, Bob? The dance. You don't do the dance anymore, but you did it up until, what, 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
And you got pretty good at it.
No, I wouldn't go that far.
No? Okay.
There might have been some people on the crew that got pretty good at it, but I've got 2 left feet.
And then you had to go to classes for that stuff?
Well, we'd rehearse. We do a lot of rehearsal.
Yeah.
A lot. We spent more time rehearsing. It wouldn't look like it on the field. But we figure we'd probably do about 20 hours before we bring something out onto the field.
Before we close, the snow last year created these little black spots on a section of my lawn. And my wife is still upset over it. And is there any way that you could, stop by and just work? I know you're busy.
No, I've got anything for you.
That'd be cool. And I'll trim your beard because I used to be a barber.
Okay.
Thank you, Bob. It's great to see you.
Thank you, bud. Take care.
The Seawolves' success has elevated rugby across the region. See how it's changing the culture of sports as CityStream continues. This ballpark's most impressive feature is its retractable roof. The commanding design includes 3 massive roof panels that cover nearly 9 acres and weigh 22 million pounds. With a push of a button, 128 steel wheels begin the roll. And within 10 to 20 minutes, either the crowd is protected from the rain or the top comes off and it's time to play ball. Whether the roof is open or closed, T-Mobile Park is a terrific place to watch a game. Speaking of games, there's another game in town that is growing so fast in popularity, rugby, thanks to the Seattle Seawolves, who last June captured their 2nd national championship in a row. 2 in a row. Tough enough to play rugby, but to win the title twice in a row, all this interest and excitement is building a new sports culture in the city.
I think there's such a natural rugby community here, and there's a big population of rugby players that find themselves in Seattle somehow.
One of the reasons why Seawolves are so successful is because the culture was here already.
It's just been not really noticed until professional rugby came here.
It's a crazy, fast-flowing sport, 80 minutes of non-stop action.
Flowing game, you play both attack and defence.
The ball can be turned over at any point in the game.
When you're watching it, you can't look away because you might miss something. Which makes it exciting because you feel like you're a part of it.
We rarely use protective equipment compared to football. We'll wear a mouth guard and maybe strap your ankles and then off you go. There's big hits, there's loud fans, and it's, like I said, non-stop.
When I heard about the league starting over here, I just couldn't, say no to this opportunity. It comes to states where I feel rugby is going to explode.
I never thought in a million years that we'd actually have a team in Seattle and a professional team on top of that.
Growing up in Australia, everyone wants to be a cricketer or a rugby player or something like that, So, coming here and seeing rugby develop as quite a new sport, but quite an exciting sport, it's been quite good. Seattle's got such a good connection to the community.
So before every Seawolves home game at Starfire Stadium, we get a bunch of kids together. We get the players out and they get to get involved with the kids. We play a bunch of rugby style games.
No, well done, good skills.
Teach them a little bit of how to hold the ball, run with the ball, work with their teammates, which is huge in rugby, is just to work as a team and not as individuals.
Don't get tagged, don't get tagged. Okay,
Just to get hold of a rugby ball, run around, meet a few of the players themselves. There's not many professional teams out there that the kids get to actually interact with the players pre-game.
in Seattle, Pacific Northwest in general. We want kids to grow up and want mum and dad to get them a rugby ball for Christmas, to get them, you know, a new pair of rugby boots so they can come out to training.
1, 2, 3, rugby!
They're the best fans. They want your autograph. They think you're a superhero, especially when you like remember their name, remember who they are, and you're 10 times even bigger and just much more impactful. So I love having the kids here.
You know, after your career, you eventually want the game to get passed on, you know, to the next generation. That's a big thing for me and something that I'm really proud about, because as a kid that grew up in Seattle playing rugby here, you know, to see more kids actually start playing the game, it's, you know, it just shows continual growth of the sport. The one thing about rugby is that anybody can play it. It's a very inclusive sport. There's a position for everybody, whether you're short, small, big, skinny, tall. Everyone has a place in rugby, you know, to actually make a difference or have an impact in the games.
I know for a fact that women's rugby in America and even Australia is one of the fastest growing sports now that it's an Olympic sport, and to see young girls, you know, wanting to play rugby and young kids to see that as a dream or a passion, that's awesome. And that's our goal, is, especially now in America, is to grow that and want kids to be future MLR stars or Olympians or whatever it be, you know.
3, 2, 1, Quake!
You know, we have the Quake, which is a gay community, you know. They're very involved in our rugby community here in Seattle. It's very inclusive, you know. There's no bias in the sport, which I really love.
You know, you'll see 4,500 people sitting in these stands every week.
You can feel the passion on the field. You can feel it when you're playing. You can feel the passion from the crowd. The best way to learn and to get caught is to actually come to a game. That's half the beauty of the sport in America, is you've got people that know rugby sitting next to people that have no idea what's going on in the field, but they're still coming to the games to watch because of the atmosphere. I think the best thing we can do is introduce more and more people to the game. Hopefully they bring their kids if they've got kids as well, and every game, if they can leave knowing a little bit more, you know, we're going in the right direction.
I know that in 10 years, this is going to be really big. It's nice to be a part of a pioneer of something.
I think every kid has a desire to play professionally for their city. You know, I look up at the fans and I see everyone from when I played with when I was in Little League all the way to men's, you know, that I'm currently playing with. And it's just an awesome place to be a part of.
Keep up on Seattle Seawolves news by going to their website, seattleseawolves.com. We'll be right back.
Seawolves! Seawolves! Seawolves!
This is my jam. I'm that fan. So here I am, and here we are, and this is our Friday.
We're back-to-back champions. We're the only team who's ever won the Shield.
2 years in a row!
When we take that field, you guys are one of our major motivations to be able to come back, bring a victory for our team and for the city.
That's our shield! That's our shield!
It's overwhelming. It's a lot of emotion, and I want them to know it's mutual. You know, I feel the same way.
This whole season was for them. I mean, to have this many people behind us, selling out every single one of our home games, people traveling to every single one of our games, it was absolutely amazing.
Winning is much more than just doing it for yourself. We did this for the city.
Back to back! Back to back!
We're gonna go for 3. Going for the 3-peat.
Seawolves! Seawolves! All right!
That wraps up this edition of CityStream. If you'd like more information about the Mariners, schedule, or anything you want to know about the team, go to MLB.com/Mariners. I'm Tony Ventrella. Thanks for watching.